If two souls are truly destined, they'll always find their way back. What's meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never meant for you. This timeless truth holds a special kind of power when it comes to love and destiny. At Spiritual Wisdom, we believe that some connections are written in the soul before they ever manifest in this world. In today's video, we'll explore Carl Jung's insights on soulmates, synchronicity, and the deep spiritual bond that pulls two people back together no matter the time, distance, or challenges. If you've ever felt an unexplainable connection with someone, or wondered why certain souls keep returning to your life, this message is for you. Let us know in the comments. Do you believe in divine timing and destined love? Your voice matters. Share your story, and let's grow together in truth, love, and spiritual awakening. 1. Destined love is guided by a higher force. Some connections defy time, logic, and even distance. No matter how far two souls drift apart, or how much life changes around them, there's a pull that never really fades. Carl Jung once said that when two personalities meet, something deeper is set into motion, they are transformed. This transformation doesn't just happen on the surface, it unfolds within the unconscious, guided by a force greater than reason. When love is destined, it doesn't die. It evolves, waits, and returns at the right moment, not because we chase it, but because the soul never forgets what it's truly aligned with. Even in separation, a silent thread holds these souls together. Through heartbreak, silence, and distance, something remains unspoken, but deeply felt. It's not always easy to explain, especially in a world that teaches us to move on, to let go. But sometimes, you don't choose to hold on something in. You simply knows that it's not over. That knowing isn't weakness, it's intuition. Carl Jung believed our unconscious mind speaks through symbols, synchronicities, and emotional truths that logic can't explain. So when two people cross paths again, after seasons of growth and struggle, it's not coincidence, it's the soul remembering its unfinished story. Life has a mysterious way of orchestrating reunions. You think you're over someone, and suddenly their favorite song plays on the radio. You open a book, and a line jumps out that reminds you of a conversation you once had with them. You bump into them on a street you weren't supposed to walk down. These are not random occurrences. Jung called it synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that reveal a deeper order at work. When these signs appear, they often carry a message that love isn't just an emotion, it's a spiritual path that brings us closer to truth, healing, and wholeness. A woman named Maya once fell deeply in love with a man named Elias. In their 20s, they were passionate, inseparable, and raw. But life demanded more than love could carry at that time. They parted ways. He moved across the country. She buried herself in her career. 10 years later, Maya walked into a bookstore, and there he was, holding the same book she had come to find. Time had changed them, but the energy between them was untouched. They weren't picking up where they left off. They were beginning again as two people who had grown into the versions of themselves that were finally ready to meet. Destined love is not about perfect timing or flawless communication. It's about growth, transformation, and trust in the unseen. The soul doesn't measure time the way the mind does. It waits, it calls, it guides. And when two people have done the inner work, when they've faced their shadows, healed their wounds, and stepped into their purpose, they're drawn back to each other, not out of need, but out of divine alignment. There is no need to force or chase. What is meant will always return. So even if you've experienced a separation that left you questioning everything, understand that separation can be sacred. It creates space for becoming. Carl Jung taught us that unless we make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to direct our lives, and we'll simply call it fate. But when we become conscious of our wounds, our patterns, our truth, we begin to attract not just love, but destiny. The soul doesn't forget what it came here to feel. And love, when it's real, becomes the catalyst for awakening. It is never lost. It is only preparing to return in a deeper, more conscious form. Have you ever felt like someone was placed in your life by destiny? If so, share your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear how fate brought you back together. If you haven't yet experienced it, comment, "I believe in divine timing," to open your heart to the magic of destined love. 2. Soul connections activate archetypes and deep recognition. When two souls are truly destined, their meeting is more than coincidence. It's a cosmic reawakening. According to Carl Jung, this connection stirs something ancient within the unconscious. It activates inner archetypes, particularly the anima and animus, our inner feminine and masculine energies. This isn't just attraction or familiarity. It's symbolic. It's spiritual wisdom in motion. You meet someone, and suddenly, you're not looking at a stranger. You're looking at a reflection of your own soul. The bond feels timeless, like a memory returning from lifetimes ago. You don't fall in love. You remember love. That recognition is not random. It's the unconscious saying, "Pay attention, this person mirrors something essential within you." Jung's teachings suggest that when the anima or animus is projected onto another, it awakens deep emotional resonance. It's why a glance, a voice, or a shared silence can feel sacred. The soul doesn't see people as they appear on the surface. It sees energy. It feels vibration. And when two destined souls meet, their energies don't just connect, they unlock hidden parts of each other. But this kind of love is rarely easy. That's because it's not meant to comfort, it's meant to transform. These relationships trigger the process of individuation. They pull unconscious patterns, fears, and wounds to the surface. The other becomes a mirror, reflecting both our beauty and our brokenness. This is where spiritual wisdom demands courage. The relationship might bring pain, confusion, even separation, but beneath it all, it is guiding both souls toward inner wholeness, not through dependency, but through deep self-recognition. Even if such a connection experiences distance or ends in the physical realm, it never truly disappears. Energy doesn't vanish. It evolves. The bond lingers in the unconscious, whispering through dreams, signs, synchronicities. Jung believed that what is real always finds a way. So if two people are meant to walk together again, life will create the path. The universe does not rush, but it never forgets. This is the kind of knowing that quiets the need to chase. You begin to trust the rhythm of divine timing. There are countless modern stories that echo this truth. Two people meet when they're young, unprepared for the depth of their bond. Life pulls them apart. But years later, when they've grown, healed, and awakened, they find each other again. Not because they searched, but because the connection never ended. It was waiting for the right moment to return. This is not fantasy. It's spiritual alignment. And it reminds us that love isn't just about timing, it's about readiness. The soul does not measure time the way the mind does. It only knows resonance. So even when silence stretches between two hearts, something deeper continues. A thread, invisible yet unbreakable, holds the connection alive. And when both souls have walked far enough to meet in truth, not projection, not need love returns, not to repeat the past, but to create something whole, something conscious, something real. This is the wisdom Carl Jung left us. Love is not always about holding on, it's about becoming. And when two people become who they were meant to be, they will find each other again. Have you ever felt an unexplainable connection that awakens something deep within you? If you're ready to explore the inner symbols that guide true love, comment below. I embrace my archetypes to begin this journey of deep soul recognition. 3. Love mirrors the self and triggers the individuation process. When you meet a soul you're truly destined for, something profound begins to unfold, not just in the relationship, but within yourself. This isn't ordinary love. It's not about surface attraction or fleeting romance. It's about deep reflection. They don't just hold your hand, they hold a mirror. Through them, you begin to see both the brilliance and the darkness you carry. This is what Carl Jung called projection of the unconscious parts of yourself, both shadow and light, being cast onto another. It's not random, it's sacred. Their presence activates your spiritual awakening by revealing parts of you that you've ignored, hidden, or misunderstood. And once those hidden parts are stirred, you can no longer remain asleep to your truth. You might find yourself overwhelmed by the intensity pulled between magnetic connection and emotional chaos. One moment, you're floating in their light. The next, you're face to face with your deepest insecurities. That's because this kind of connection doesn't just soothe your soul, it stretches it. It challenges the illusions you've built to protect yourself. It strips away who you thought you were, so you can remember who you really are. And in that tension, in that raw emotional exposure, the process of individuation begins. Jung believed individuation is the journey toward becoming whole, not perfect, not polished, but fully yourself. And relationships, especially ones that feel destined, are often the spiritual battleground where this journey takes place. In the eyes of this person, you might see your childhood wounds, your unhealed fears, your forgotten dreams. You may project your longing for security, your desire for validation, or your craving to be chosen. But slowly, through emotional storms and divine clarity, you begin to see they were never meant to fix you. They were sent to awaken you, to call you back to your center, to ignite your transformation from the inside out. Love in this form is spiritual alchemy. It burns away the false layers, revealing the gold of your essence underneath. This love forces you to confront your own emotional maturity, your attachment styles, your boundaries, and your capacity for truth. It doesn't allow you to hide. It asks for your authenticity. It's not there to fulfill your fantasy. It's there to elevate your consciousness. Each trigger becomes a lesson. Each argument becomes a mirror. Each reunion becomes a reminder that something beyond logic is guiding the two of you together, not for comfort, but for soul expansion. And this is the essence of spiritual awakening through love. Realizing that the person you thought you needed was actually pointing you back to the person you came here to become. If you're ready to embrace the mirror of love and grow into your true self? Comment below. I welcome my individuation journey. Let this be your first step toward conscious transformation. 4. Conflict and shadow work are essential in true love. Real love doesn't come to comfort you. It comes to awaken you. When two souls are truly destined to be together, their connection isn't about avoiding storms. It's about learning to heal through them. Conflict, discomfort, and emotional triggers are not signs of dysfunction. They are sacred invitations to grow. According to Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And this is exactly what destined love does. It brings the unconscious to the surface so it can no longer control you from the shadows. Jealousy, fear, the need to control, or the pain of abandonment, these emotions may rise in the presence of someone who touches your soul. But these aren't red flags telling you to leave. They're mirrors reflecting the parts of yourself you've buried, rejected, or denied. Instead of idealizing your partner, true love calls you to see them clearly, with all their flaws, while also facing your own. You begin to realize that love isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's not about getting what you want. It's about discovering who you are when love challenges you. In the language of Carl Jung, this is shadow work. And no other relationship will trigger the shadow more than the one meant to transform you. When two people are meant for each other, their love will reach into old wounds and ask them to be healed. It will force both people to confront their deepest fears, not to hurt one another, but to reveal what's ready to be made whole. The pain that rises is not a punishment, it's a portal. It means the soul is ready for growth. And growth often comes disguised as conflict. Take, for example, a modern couple who truly loved each other, but constantly triggered one another's insecurities. At first, they saw this as a sign they weren't compatible. But when they stepped back, they realized the relationship was bringing old childhood wounds to the surface. His fear of being invisible, her fear of not being enough. Instead of walking away, they chose the harder path, to stay, to speak honestly, to seek healing together. That's what spiritual wisdom teaches us. Love that's real is rarely easy, but it's always transformative. Every time we get close to someone who sees us, our ego reacts, our shadow resists, but the soul knows. The soul recognizes that this person has come not just to love us, but to awaken us. They're not here to complete you, but to reveal where you're still fragmented. And when you stop running from that discomfort, when you breathe through it, lean into it, and explore it, you begin to change. That's the spiritual awakening that Carl Jung spoke of. A journey into the self, guided by the mirror of love. So, conflict is not the end. It is the beginning of deeper intimacy. Emotional triggers aren't threats. They are openings. And the person who brings them out in you may not be your destroyer, but your healer. Destined love doesn't just soothe your heart, it rearranges it, reshapes it, and makes room for the truth. Not the fantasy of love, but the reality of it. Not the image of perfection, but the essence of wholeness. That is where real love begins. If this message resonated with you, leave a like, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss insights like this. Comment below. I'm ready to face my shadow with love, to affirm your journey toward healing and authentic connection. 5. Separation is part of the spiritual journey. Physical or emotional distance isn't the death of true love. It's part of its sacred unfolding. In the realm of spiritual wisdom, separation is not abandonment. It is an invitation. It invites both souls to dive deep within themselves, to confront their own shadows, and to awaken what was once buried under dependency, fear, or illusion. The absence of the other becomes a mirror, reflecting where one still needs to grow, to heal, and to remember their own wholeness. True love doesn't demand constant closeness. It demands depth, and that depth is often found in solitude. Carl Jung spoke of the self as the guiding force of individuation, the process of becoming whole. When two people are truly meant to be, their separation is not a mistake. Time and space are not obstacles, but instruments used by the self to cultivate the strength, clarity, and inner maturity required for sacred union. Just as seasons come and go, spiritual bonds go through cycles: connection, separation, transformation, and if destiny allows, reunion. But only after both individuals have faced the parts of themselves that once made love feel impossible. Growth doesn't happen when things are easy. It happens in the silence after goodbye, in the tears that fall when memories return, and in the courage it takes to keep going alone. Love that is written by the soul is not a straight line. It's a spiral, leading both souls back to themselves before they can return to each other. In that sacred in-between, they shed their illusions. They learn to love themselves without needing another to fill the void. And when they finally meet again, they do so from a place of truth, not fear. They no longer cling, but choose freely, consciously, and wholly. This is spiritual wisdom, knowing that love does not disappear in absence. It ripens. It deepens. It returns in divine timing, not to rescue you, but to reflect the wholeness you found within. Just as the butterfly cannot emerge without its cocoon, soul connections cannot evolve without separation. The very pain that once felt unbearable becomes the soil in which deeper love can bloom. And the longing you once cursed becomes proof that your soul still remembers something your mind cannot explain. Destined love is not about possession. It's about presence. And sometimes, the most sacred form of presence is learning to hold space for someone in your heart, even when they are not in your arms. When you stop chasing and start trusting, you step into the divine rhythm where all things real find their way back. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. Do you feel the deeper purpose behind your separation? If this resonates with you, declare it with faith in the comments. I trust the journey. Separation is sacred. 6. Eternal love is an archetype from the collective unconscious. The longing for eternal love isn't just a fantasy. It's a deep archetype rooted in the collective unconscious of all humanity. Carl Jung believed that archetypes are not inventions of the mind, but ancient patterns that live within us, guiding how we experience life, emotion, and connection. The idea of a forever love, something sacred, destined, and unbreakable, appears in every culture, every myth, every age. It's the story of souls that remember each other beyond time, beyond form. But Jung also warned that this archetype must not be lived blindly. If we chase the image of perfect love without awareness, we risk falling into projection. We may confuse chemistry for destiny, or mistake longing for true spiritual alignment. That's where the spiritual awakening begins. When we encounter someone who activates this archetype within us, The experience is not simply romantic, it's transformational. It tears open the veil between the conscious and unconscious. It brings light to the shadow. It initiates the soul. Real eternal love is not a static fairy tale. It's a fire that burns away illusion. It invites us to confront the deepest parts of ourselves, the wounded child, the unmet needs, the unconscious beliefs about love and worth. This kind of connection demands that we grow. It reveals our projections, our fears, and the parts of ourselves we've kept hidden. It doesn't come to complete us, but to awaken us. When two souls are truly destined, they don't just fall into harmony, they collide into truth. They trigger inner change. Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." These soul-deep relationships become mirrors, showing us not who the other person is, but who we really are beneath our defenses. That's why many people describe fated love as overwhelming or even painful at first. It doesn't play by the rules of ordinary logic. It brings synchronicities, dreams, emotional intensity, and inexplicable connection. But its purpose is never just about staying together. Its higher purpose is awakening, becoming more whole, more conscious, more free. Spiritual wisdom teaches that eternal love cannot be found outside until it is awakened inside. It begins with the sacred union of your own inner masculine and feminine, your ego and your soul, your light and your shadow. Only when you've met yourself on that level can you truly meet another without illusion. That's when love becomes not just passion, but presence. Not just attraction, but transformation. The spiritual awakening that comes from eternal love isn't about fairy tale endings. It's about the deep remembering of the soul. And through this remembering, you don't just love another, you become love itself. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on how timeless archetypes like eternal love can guide your personal transformation. 7. True love transcends time, ego, and logic. When two souls are truly destined, no amount of time, silence, or distance can sever the connection. This is not a fleeting emotion. It's a spiritual bond that lives beyond logic. Carl Jung believed that deep relationships are never random. Through his concept of synchronicity, he explained that meaningful coincidences are messages from the unconscious, pointing to a greater intelligence guiding us toward what we are meant to encounter. When two souls recognize each other, it's not because of familiarity in this lifetime alone, but because something within them has remembered a deeper truth. True love like this transforms you. It doesn't just soothe your heart, it awakens your soul. It calls you out of your patterns and into your healing. You stop craving shallow connections because this love has touched a part of you nothing else could reach. You begin to see that your longing is not simply for the person, but for the version of yourself that only this connection seems to activate. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." But with a soul bond, fate is not just a passive experience, it becomes a path of spiritual awakening. There's a story of a woman named Sarah who met Daniel during a 2-day retreat. Though strangers, their connection felt ancient. They spoke as if picking up a conversation started lifetimes ago. After the retreat, they lost touch for over 5 years. No messages, no updates, but neither forgot. Both went through major transformations. Careers shifted, old identities fell away, spiritual practices deepened. And then one day, without planning, Daniel reached out. The timing was no coincidence. Their reunion wasn't about going back to where they left off. It was about beginning again, from a higher place. They weren't the same people anymore. They had grown into the love they once only glimpsed. This is what happens when a bond is rooted in the soul, not the ego. It's not about possession or constant presence. It's about evolution. Sometimes separation is necessary for expansion. Distance allows each person to face their shadows, to grow individually, to break illusions of codependency. The connection remains, but it asks you to trust, to surrender control, and to honor divine timing. Carl Jung taught that love isn't just an emotion, it's a force that reveals what is unconscious. The person you love may be the one who forces you to meet yourself most honestly. Soul connections aren't always easy. They aren't always convenient, but they are sacred. They break you open, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you as someone more whole. If you've met someone like this, and circumstances pulled you apart, don't see it as the end. See it as an initiation. Let the pain teach you. Let the silence stretch you. Let the space between you grow something inside of you that wouldn't have grown otherwise. Because if two souls are truly destined, they will not just find each other again, they will return as truer, wiser, more awakened versions of themselves. That is the true journey of love through the lens of Carl Jung. Not to complete each other, but to become complete within and then meet again. If this message touched your soul, type in the comments. I believe in divine love that transcends time and awakens my spirit. And remember, if two souls are truly destined, no distance, no silence, no time can keep them apart forever. What is meant for you will always find its way back, often when you least expect it, but most need it. Trust in the timing, trust in the journey, and trust in the deeper wisdom that guides your soul. If this message spoke to your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of insight, healing, and spiritual truth. Your journey is sacred, and we're honored to walk it with you. Learn to act as if nothing bothers you. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens. Carl Jung. In a world full of noise, judgment, and emotional triggers, your power lies in stillness. What if you could walk through life untouched by negativity, unbothered by what doesn't serve your peace? In today's video from Spiritual Wisdom, we'll explore the liberating mindset of acting as if nothing bothers you, not as avoidance, but as deep emotional mastery. This shift isn't about suppression. It's about reclaiming control of your energy, your focus, your soul. As you listen, ask yourself, what would change in your life if you stopped reacting and started rising? Comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to like and share if this message speaks to your journey. Let's awaken together. 1. Mastering the nothing bothers me mindset. Life is overflowing with distractions, opinions that try to define you, criticisms that sting, and setbacks that make you question your worth. But true strength doesn't come from a life free of noise. It comes from the way you choose to respond. As Carl Jung once said, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. When you embrace this truth, you stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. You stop giving your power away to people who don't deserve to shape your peace. You begin to understand that detachment is not cold indifference. It is self-respect. It is the decision to no longer let every delay, rejection, or unkind word live rent-free in your heart. The world can throw what it wants at you, but it doesn't mean you have to absorb it. You can observe without reacting. You can feel it without breaking. That's the power of emotional discipline, and it's a practice, not a personality trait. The ones who walk through storms calmly didn't escape the chaos. They simply refused to let it inside them. Anna, a corporate employee, used to spend every night replaying conversations in her head, wondering what she could have said better, what she did wrong, or why she was being ignored. Her emotional exhaustion was draining her soul. But once she began reflecting on her own emotional patterns and studying Carl Jung's principles of self-awareness, something changed. She realized that her reactions were not coming from truth. They were coming from unhealed places that craved validation. The more she healed, the less she reacted. And the less she reacted, the more peaceful she became. That's the shift. Emotional detachment isn't about building walls. It's about building self-understanding. When you realize that not every situation needs your energy, you begin to conserve your power. You stop trying to fix what was never yours to carry. You stop responding to every noise, and instead, you start listening to your own inner voice, the one that doesn't beg for approval, the one that knows you are already enough. Carl Jung believed that inner clarity comes when you stop projecting and start integrating. That means instead of blaming the world for your discomfort, you look within and ask, what part of me is being activated? With this awareness, you begin to live with intention, not reaction. You start moving through life with quiet power, not emotional chaos. Spiritual wisdom reminds us that detachment is not detachment from love. It's detachment from fear, from neediness, from the illusion that your peace depends on anyone else. Each time you choose silence over reaction, boundaries over pleasing, presence over panic, you reclaim your power. It's not about being unbothered because nothing happens. It's about being unshaken because you've learned how to stand rooted in who you are. And when that shift happens, the world may still test you, but it can no longer touch the calm you've built from the inside out. If you're ready to master the art of staying calm, no matter what life throws at you, comment below. I choose inner peace. Let this be your first step toward emotional strength and unshakable power. 2. Control your reaction. Control your life. Emotional reactions are silent contracts every time you respond impulsively. You give someone permission to control your peace. They say a careless word and you spiral. They ignore you and your mind races. But when you master your response, you break this contract. You reclaim ownership of your emotions, your energy, and your direction. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that the true seat of power is not in control over others, but in control over yourself. That's where detachment begins, not in apathy, but in presence. Detachment is not about becoming cold or distant. It's about no longer allowing your internal world to be dictated by external circumstances. You can care deeply and still remain centered. You can witness chaos and not become it. The moment you stop reacting out of habit and start responding from awareness, you shift from being a puppet to becoming the master of your inner world. In that space between the trigger and your response lies your freedom. This freedom begins with one conscious pause, just one breath between stimulus and action. When someone provokes you, don't respond immediately. Feel the heat rise, but don't move. In that pause, ask yourself, what does reacting give me? What does remaining calm protect? Visualize yourself as composed, steady, and above the noise. Feel that quiet strength. That is the essence of true presence. Not noise, not drama, just clarity. People mistake aggression for strength. But aggression is easy. It's impulsive, loud, reactive. True strength is calm. It's the silence that follows provocation. It's the steady tone in a heated room. It's the refusal to match chaos with more chaos. When you stay composed, you change the energy in the space. You become untouchable, not because you don't feel, but because you don't hand your feelings over to be manipulated. There's a power that comes from choosing stillness when everything in you wants to erupt. When you don't let their immaturity drag you into pettiness. When you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Calm becomes your boundary. Composure becomes your shield. Detachment becomes your wisdom. And in that space, you become unshakable, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. So the next time life challenges you, when the urge to react burns inside your chest, return to the center. Remember your breath. Remember your power. And choose silence over noise, reflection over reaction. That is how you transform emotional chaos into spiritual clarity. That is how you take your power back. Have you ever practiced staying silent instead of reacting? If so, share how it changed your life in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else. If not, comment, "I will pause first," to begin reclaiming your power with calm and clarity. 3. Detachment is emotional strength. Detachment is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. Emotional strength is not measured by how loudly you react, but by how calmly you choose to respond. When something goes wrong, don't absorb it like a personal failure. See it as feedback. Life isn't attacking you, it's refining you. People on a path of spiritual awakening understand this deeply. The world doesn't owe you comfort, but it does offer you clarity if you're willing to pause and listen. Reacting out of impulse is easy, but responding with awareness, that's a sign of inner growth. The emotionally strong know how to create space between stimulus and response. In that sacred space, they don't let anger dictate their voice or fear guide their decisions. They act with intention. They observe before they speak. They lead with calmness, not chaos. True detachment is not cold indifference. It's self-respect, wrapped in grace. It means you care, but you don't carry what isn't yours. You can feel everything deeply and still not fall apart. You can love someone fiercely and still walk away if it threatens your peace. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the quiet confidence that no matter how loud the world becomes, you will not be moved by every wave that crashes against your shore. Spiritual wisdom teaches that real power comes not from controlling others, but from mastering your own state of being. In that mastery, you realize that peace is not found in avoiding storms, but in walking through them without losing your center. Emotionally resilient people do not suppress their emotions. They process them without allowing those emotions to hijack their lives. They don't make impulsive decisions just to escape discomfort. They sit with the discomfort. They let it teach them, refine them, strengthen them. They know that every emotional trigger is an opportunity for deeper self-awareness. Every time you choose not to engage in drama, every time you pause instead of panic, every time you let go instead of clinging, you are reclaiming your energy. That is emotional maturity. That is the fruit of spiritual awakening. And over time, it changes everything, not by making life easier, but by making you unshakable. Stay connected with our growing community by subscribing to Spiritual Wisdom. Here, we explore the power of emotional strength and spiritual growth through calm, clarity, and intention. Remember, choosing not to react doesn't mean you're cold. It means you're in control. You deserve peace, and it begins within. 4. Stop seeking approval. Craving approval from others quietly robs you of your power. Every time you pause to wonder what someone else will think, whether it's about your appearance, your decisions, or your ambitions, you give them control over your sense of self-worth. The truth is, this need for validation keeps you small. You begin shaping your life around what will be accepted rather than what is authentic. Carl Jung believed that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And you cannot become who you truly are while depending on someone else to approve of your every move. The danger lies in thinking that someone else's applause will finally make you feel whole. But approval is a drug. It wears off fast and leaves you needing another hit. What you really need is inner validation, a strong, unwavering sense of self that doesn't bend in the wind of other people's opinions. Choosing yourself means knowing your value even when no one claps. It's walking into a room and not shrinking, even when you know you're different. It's saying no without guilt and yes without hesitation because you trust your own voice more than the crowd's noise. Take Maya, for example, a woman who excelled in her corporate career, always doing what would make her look competent and likable. She would stay late to finish other people's work, change how she dressed to fit in, and avoid speaking her truth in meetings to keep the peace. On the surface, she was successful, but inside, she felt invisible. Everything she had built was based on other people's standards. The turning point came when she realized the version of herself she had spent years perfecting was actually a carefully crafted disguise. From that moment on, she stopped chasing applause and started building a life that felt honest, even if it didn't look perfect to others. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom teaches us that individuation, the process of becoming your true self, requires separation from the expectations of others. You must stop performing and start living. You must become more loyal to your soul than to your image. The approval you once needed begins to feel unnecessary. You don't become colder, you become clearer, more grounded, more powerful. And ironically, when you stop needing approval, people start to respect you more, not less. They sense your authenticity and are drawn to your self-assurance. To live like this, you must practice choosing yourself daily. Notice when you hesitate because you fear judgment. Observe the moments you silence your truth to make others comfortable. In those moments, pause and return to your center. Tell yourself, I approve of me. I am worthy of my own love. And then move boldly. Because the goal is not to be liked by everyone. The goal is to be at peace with yourself. When you no longer seek to fit in, you finally begin to stand out, not for who people want you to be, but for who you truly are. If you're ready to reclaim your power and stop living for others' approval, comment below. I choose myself. And if this message resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of growth with us. 5. Handle criticism with logic, not emotion. Criticism only hurts when we allow it to. It draws power not from the words themselves, but from our emotional reaction to them. If someone says something harsh and you immediately feel defensive or wounded, it's not necessarily because what they said is true. It's because something inside you still seeks validation. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that the more emotionally reactive we are, the more control we give away. To grow, you must stop letting your peace depend on someone else's opinion. When a comment hits you, pause and ask, is this about me or about them? Learning to separate constructive criticism from destructive noise is essential. Constructive feedback is often direct, but it's rooted in care. It can come from a teacher, a friend, or even a stranger who wants to offer clarity. It may not be easy to hear, but it carries the energy of support. Destructive criticism, on the other hand, is laced with judgment and ego. It isn't meant to guide you, it's meant to shrink you. And if you internalize it, you're allowing someone else's projection to shape your identity. That's why discernment is key. Know the difference and protect your energy. You don't have to accept every opinion. Just like you wouldn't eat food handed to you by anyone on the street, don't swallow every word thrown at you. Use what serves your growth. Discard what doesn't. Stay focused. This is the practice of spiritual self-respect. When you take every comment personally, you scatter your power. But when you choose to filter feedback through logic rather than emotion, you anchor yourself in sovereignty. You no longer need to defend, explain, or prove. You simply continue your path with inner stillness. The truth is, most criticism doesn't come from people who understand your journey. They haven't walked through your storms. They don't feel the calling in your heart. Often, your growth makes others uncomfortable because it reflects what they haven't yet faced within themselves. Your confidence might mirror their insecurity. Your peace might expose their chaos. Instead of shrinking to fit their comfort, honor your truth. Not everyone is meant to understand you, and that's perfectly fine. In today's world, this plays out in so many ways. Imagine a woman leaving her corporate job to become a spiritual coach. People laugh. They question her choices. They tell her she's unrealistic. But what they really mean is, your courage terrifies me. When she refuses to justify her dream, when she keeps showing up with faith instead of fear, that's when she truly reclaims her power. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You just need to stop letting their doubts become your own. Treat every criticism like a passing car. Observe it, don't chase it. If it offers wisdom, receive it. If it offers only noise, let it pass. This is the mindset of emotional mastery. It's not about ignoring everyone. It's about listening deeply, but only keeping what aligns with your path. When you develop this clarity, nothing can destabilize you. You become unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you stop being moved by every opinion. That is the true mark of spiritual awakening. Do you agree that logic is your greatest shield against unnecessary pain? If you do, declare it in the comments. I respond with wisdom, not emotion. 6. Keep your composure under pressure. Pressure is not your enemy. It is your training ground. Life was never meant to be lived without friction. And the presence of pressure is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you are becoming. The most powerful individuals don't avoid pressure. They welcome it as an opportunity to refine their inner strength. Instead of fearing stress, they prepare for it, knowing that peace is not found in the absence of chaos, but in the ability to remain grounded within it. When pressure arises, your first instinct may be to react to panic, to defend, or to retreat. But those who have experienced a true spiritual awakening understand that reaction is the language of the unconscious. Response, however, is the choice of the awakened. You don't need to allow every emotion to control you. You don't have to become what you feel. Instead, you can observe, pause, and decide how you want to move. That space between trigger and response is where your power lives. This isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about mastering the art of emotional discipline, remaining calm in the eye of the storm, just as a trained warrior does. A warrior doesn't enter battle unprepared. Long before the first sword is drawn, they have trained their mind, their body, and their breath. In the same way, your calm is cultivated in private, long before it is needed in public. Your morning rituals, your spiritual practices, your self-reflection, all of it is training. Training for the moments that try to steal your peace. To keep your composure, you must first understand what truly disturbs it. Is it fear of judgment? Is it the need to control? Is it the unconscious desire to be approved of? Once you become aware of the roots of your reactivity, you begin to loosen their grip. You stop handing over your power to every unexpected change. You begin to stand firm, not because life is easy, but because your spirit is anchored. Every moment of pressure is a sacred invitation to rise, not to harden, not to numb, but to awaken. This is the heart of spiritual awakening, not floating above life, but becoming fully present in it. You meet stress with strategy. You meet chaos with clarity. You meet fear with breath. This is how you transform pressure into power. And once you know how to stay centered in storms, you'll stop chasing peace from the outside. You'll realize it was always yours to generate. Keep training. Keep breathing. Keep choosing presence. You're not just surviving pressure, you're being sculpted by it. If this message helped you stay grounded under pressure, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep growing stronger, one calm response at a time. 7. Let go of what you can't control. Suffering begins the moment we attach ourselves to outcomes we cannot control. We expect people to behave a certain way, plans to unfold perfectly, and life to reward our efforts in the exact timing we desire. But that attachment becomes the source of inner turmoil, not the events themselves. As Carl Jung noted, it's not what happens to us that shapes our destiny, but how we choose to respond. And the most powerful response we can learn is to let go. To let go does not mean to stop caring. It means to stop clinging to things that were never meant to be controlled. Life moves like a river, full of unexpected bends, rocks, and currents. When you resist its flow, you exhaust yourself. But when you learn to flow around obstacles, you find peace, clarity, and a new rhythm of strength. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Ask yourself this simple but transformative question. Is this within my control? If it isn't, then continuing to obsess over it is only draining your energy and delaying your healing. There's a quiet kind of power in knowing when to step back, when to surrender, and when to allow life to unfold on its own terms. Trying to control the uncontrollable will only keep you stuck in cycles of frustration and anxiety. Take Sarah, for example. After being overlooked for a role she had worked years to earn, she was consumed with anger and doubt. But rather than letting it destroy her confidence, she paused and asked, "Can I change their decision?" The answer was no. What she could change, though, was her next move. She used the disappointment as fuel, redirecting her focus, building new skills, and eventually stepping into a role that aligned more deeply with her purpose. The moment she let go of needing approval, the path cleared for something greater. This is the essence of spiritual awakening, not forcing life to match our expectations, but learning to trust in the unfolding. Carl Jung believed that healing comes when we bring the unconscious into awareness, and clinging is often unconscious. We think we're fighting for love, justice, or fairness, but often we're just resisting change. True growth begins when you stop fighting and start flowing. Letting go is a practice. Some days it's easy, and other days it feels impossible. But every time you pause, breathe, and choose peace over control, you reclaim a piece of your power. You remind yourself that your worth isn't tied to how things turn out. You anchor yourself in something deeper than outcomes: your inner stillness, your freedom, your light. And from that space, nothing can disturb your balance unless you allow it. If you're still here, comment below. I choose peace, to affirm your commitment to letting go. Your words matter, and they help us grow this mindful community together. 8. Silence is a power move. Silence isn't weakness. It's a weapon sharpened by self-control. In a world that constantly screams for attention, the one who remains quiet holds the real power. Silence builds mystery. It creates an invisible boundary that makes others lean in, unsure of what you're thinking, unsure of what you might do next. That uncertainty alone is influence. The less you say, the more impact your words will carry when you finally speak. And in that stillness, you project authority without needing validation. In conversations, especially conflicts, the loudest voice rarely wins. It's usually the calmest one. When others raise their voices, defending themselves, explaining their side, proving a point, the person who remains composed changes the energy of the entire room. The power lies in restraint. By not reacting impulsively, you stop others from pulling you into their chaos. You are no longer driven by ego or emotion, but by clarity. That's real spiritual wisdom. Knowing that reacting immediately means giving your power away, while stillness lets you keep it. Let people talk. Let them fill the space with their assumptions, fears, and noise. The more they reveal, the more you learn. When you're silent, you're listening not just to words, but to tone, body language, energy. You become the observer, not the participant in their drama. And that's where transformation happens. You realize you don't have to fix, explain, or defend anything. You just have to hold your center. That's the kind of strength no one can see, but everyone can feel. Silence is especially powerful during arguments, negotiations, and emotional storms. In an argument, saying less often says more. When someone expects you to react and you don't, they lose control. In negotiation, silence pressures the other person to speak, to fill the gap, to reveal what they didn't plan to say. In emotionally charged moments, silence lets you pause long enough to respond from wisdom instead of pain. This is how you rise above the moment, not by fighting it, but by mastering yourself within it. There is deep spiritual awakening in silence. It teaches you patience, discipline, and discernment. When you no longer feel the need to respond to every opinion, defend every choice, or explain your value, you step into a higher version of yourself. That's not detachment, it's alignment. Your energy becomes so stable that no one else's chaos can shake it. You stop being pulled by noise and start moving from presence. And in that state, silence becomes more than a tool. It becomes your protection, your power, and your peace. If you believe in the quiet strength of silence, subscribe now for more wisdom on mastering presence, power, and emotional control. 9. Train your mind to stay calm. No matter what. Mental toughness is not something you're born with. It's something you earn through daily choices. It begins with discipline, the quiet decision to do what's necessary even when it's uncomfortable. Discipline is brushing your teeth when your mind is chaotic. It's showing up for your goals even when motivation is gone. It's choosing silence instead of reaction, routine over chaos, and peace over the temporary satisfaction of lashing out. Every time you master your impulses, you reclaim control of your mind. That's not weakness, it's strength. That's not indifference, it's power through intention. Gratitude, too, is more than just positive thinking. It's a radical act of shifting your perspective in the face of difficulty. When life doesn't go your way, when things fall apart, gratitude is your anchor. It brings your mind back to the present, reminds you of what's still working, and helps you see the hidden blessings in the background noise of disappointment. As Melody Beattie said, gratitude turns what we have into enough. When you can be thankful, even during chaos, you've entered a new level of spiritual awakening. You stop spiraling in frustration and begin responding with wisdom. Detachment is the third pillar, and one of the most misunderstood. It doesn't mean giving up or feeling nothing. It means no longer being emotionally enslaved by outcomes or external validation. When someone disrespects you, you don't rush to explain. When things don't go your way, you don't crumble, you adjust. Carl Jung once wrote, "Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness." Detachment allows you to experience pain without letting it define you, to walk through fire without letting it consume you. It teaches you that your peace is not up for negotiation. And just like a muscle, your mind grows stronger with resistance. Every time you pause instead of reacting, every time you stay centered in the storm, every time you stop trying to control things you cannot, you stretch that mental muscle. Meditation becomes your training ground. It teaches you how to hold space between stimulus and response. Keeping promises to yourself becomes your structure. It builds integrity, and with integrity comes stability. Emotional regulation becomes your practice. It shows you that emotions are visitors, not rulers. When you stop reacting to everything around you, you begin to master your life. You become untouchable, not because nothing affects you, but because nothing controls you. You can be calm without being passive, present without being overwhelmed, strong without needing to prove anything. The world may still challenge you, but your energy no longer sways with every external force. You live from the inside out, and that is the essence of spiritual awakening. If this message helped ground your spirit today, comment below. I am training my mind to stay calm and unshaken. Your presence here means you're choosing growth, and we're on this journey with you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs a moment of peace. 10. Master the art of moving in silence. Power doesn't speak, it shows. In a world driven by constant updates, loud opinions, and oversharing, true mastery lies in quiet execution. Carl Jung taught that the self becomes most powerful when it no longer needs validation, only alignment. You don't need to tell people what you're doing. You don't need to broadcast your goals or chase applause. Just do the work. Let results be your echo. When you master the art of moving in silence, your presence alone speaks volumes. People can sense the shift. They feel your energy. And that impact, subtle, steady, unstoppable, is far greater than anything words could offer. The modern world conditions you to crave reaction. You post a plan. You wait for a response. But that hunger for approval weakens your momentum. Energy leaks when you constantly explain yourself. Silence protects your power. It keeps your direction sacred. When no one knows your next step, no one can interfere with it. You become untouchable, not by fighting louder, but by flowing deeper into your own path. Carl Jung emphasized individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are, free from projections, expectations, and noise. And that journey, by nature, is quiet. There's strength in stillness. There's clarity in not responding. There's wisdom in letting people wonder. When you no longer need to prove anything, your life becomes a reflection of trust in your calling, your process, your divine timing. Consider this. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, you invite doubt into the space where faith should be. Faith needs no announcement. It only needs action. A woman I once knew shared her dream, with everyone launching a healing practice, helping others transform. But every reaction diluted her resolve. She got lost in opinions, tangled in doubt. One day, she went silent. She built in the background, healed in private, grew roots no one could see. And years later, the same people who once questioned her started asking for her guidance. That's the power of silence. It turns focus into force. Carl Jung believed that what you resist persists. And in the same way, what you overexpose, you weaken. There are dreams that only survive in the dark. There are goals that bloom best when no one is watching. When you stop giving energy to being seen and start giving energy to being aligned, transformation happens. Quietly, consistently, powerfully. Let your discipline be louder than your declarations. Let your actions do the explaining. Stop searching for recognition. Instead, stay rooted in your vision. Trust it. Nurture it. Protect it. You don't need to be loud to be legendary. You just need to be focused. This is not about hiding. It's about honoring. Not everything sacred is meant to be shared. Your silence is not emptiness. It's protection. It's intention. It's wisdom. And those who truly know power don't speak it. They embody it. To affirm your commitment to quiet strength and focused action, comment below, "I move in silence." Let this be your declaration of power, discipline, and purpose, and inspiration to others walking the same path. So remember, acting as if nothing bothers you isn't about denial. It's about inner strength. It's about reclaiming your peace, mastering your reactions, and choosing presence over chaos. As Carl Jung taught us, transformation begins the moment we shift our inner world. If this message has brought you clarity or calm today, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss another step on your journey to spiritual and emotional mastery. Until next time, stay grounded, stay awakened,